a lot of people refuse to talk about the fact that obesity is killing a lot of people in this pandemic. You have spoken about it. I have spoken about it. What are your thoughts on the reaction to people's fear of speaking about obesity when it comes to this whole period over the last 2 years?
Well, personally, I think that there's more people dying from obesity than from COVID. If you actually look at the stats and you look at the long-term implications, you might say, well, no one's really dying of obesity now. Well, no, not now. But if you take a 10-year-old and they're sitting at home, they're not exercising, and they grow up and they stop training, they stop exercising, they gain weight. And the studies, I mean, it's quite clear that people are becoming more overweight, more obese right now than any before in history. There's such a spike in obesity. Those illnesses that come like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, that's going to happen 20 years from now. So what we're going to see is 20 years from now, because of this pandemic, all these people are going to be getting heart attacks, diabetes, and dying early from something that could have been prevented now. If we focused half as much on treating obesity as we do COVID, we'd be saving so many lives 20 years from now. It would be unbelievable.
And if you take things like what's happened during the pandemic, people locked inside, they're not allowed to go outside and exercise, gyms are shut. Melbourne, for example, I saw a stat on the news the other day. They will be let out of lockdown in a couple of weeks, but over the last 2 years, they've been in lockdown for 236 or 63 days. Massive. Gyms being shut for that period of time. Now, I was an obese kid growing up, and for young adults getting into the gym, it's hard enough, confidence-wise. You know, you're fearful of what people are going to think of you, and it's not until you go to the gym for a while that you realise that people just don't give a shit. They're just worried about themselves and their own vanity. And I think that this is going to be, as you said, 20 years from now, a massive increase and spike in obesity cases and people battling that long-term illness, if you will. But if you are a young kid now, 18, 19, or even younger, and you don't have the access to the gym, it's not going to become a part of your daily routine. Like, there's no coming back from this, or at least it's going to be very hard.
Absolutely. It's a long-term damage thing. Like, I used to teach physical education, and if you don't get a kid at a young age to like phys ed, like to like being active in sports, it's very hard to get them into it later. If I see a kid for the first time and they're 13, 14 years old, they don't already like being active, they don't like sports, it's really hard to convince them to find something that they like. And those skills that develop when they're younger, that translate into being more confident and more likely to play sports. If you're athletic, you take part in phys ed when you're a kid, and somebody throws any sport at you, let's go play beach volleyball. You're like, sure, I can do that. But if you're not active when you're younger, really hard to take that up. So seeing as people aren't being active in phys ed, like gym teachers are having, oh, geez. Sorry about that. Gym teachers, they're having to force people they're having to teach their classes at a desk without the kids. They can't go next to each other, you know, in a bubble. How are you supposed to teach when you just stretch the whole time? You can't go near, let's play tag, but don't touch anyone. Like, it's just not working. So these kids aren't going to experience that. They're going to sit at home like we are right now with their kids and friends and playing games, doing all this stuff, and not actually be physical. So they are definitely going to be, struggling when they get older to find the activities that they like and enjoy and be active.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I mean, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, we have to do it. And perhaps we won't know the best way to handle this whole virus and whatnot. We won't know for another 20 years when we look back on it and realize what we should and shouldn't have done. But to give someone who perhaps, and maybe this isn't the best way to look at it, but who has a weaker mindset. I know I did when it came to training and eating well when I was a kid. I had a weaker mindset. And I think that's what led to me being overweight for a long period of time. If kids are given the opportunity, particularly as they get older, to say, well, I can't go outside because it's dangerous, because I might get the virus, they just won't do it. And I think that parents will also have that opportunity. I know a lot of people in the street that I live in, they've been getting takeaway every night. And you know, you could probably have takeaway every night and still be relatively fit if you train your ass off and don't eat all day. But most people aren't like that. Most people aren't fasting all day or not eating, starving themselves all day and then having all their calories in one meal. So all these people putting on all this weight, now getting into the position where they're not moving around, not doing any exercise, and then they get sick, this is where people are going to die. This is where people are going to get other illnesses, and it's going to combine into this absolute mess that, as you said, we won't see for another 20 years. And I don't see how, as a species, I don't see how we come out of that. Is there anything that you can see that could change people's opinion on exercise and diet?
I think honestly, we're doing it right now. We're doing the best we can. Like, think of it. I used to be a phys ed teacher. I taught a couple hundred kids in a year, maybe if I was traveling around. Now over 1 million people watch my channel. So I have the same message, like try to find something you like and do it. Don't have crazy goals to be ripped, get halfway there and just try to be the best version of yourself, be as healthy as possible. These kind of messages, people watch them. Kids today, they watch more YouTube than they do TV. So they're watching these kind of podcasts and so on, and they're going to watch and learn from us and then put it in their own lives. So I do think it's going to help just from the YouTubers out there that trying to do the good thing.